Thank you. And let me start by thanking Julia Johnson, and she's my cohort, my partner in crime. Back a decade ago, and it doesn't seem that long ago, but a decade ago, she was doing stuff at the state level that was revolutionary as chairman of the Florida PUC, and I was up here trying to learn some stuff from her and get a few things going on in the, at the federal level. I was blessed. I had the best job in the world. From 1993 to 1999, I got to work, after I worked for Leland and after I worked for Ed Markey, I got to work with Bill Clinton and Al Gore. And my job was a simple one. It was to kind of help the American people understand what the internet was about and help bring the power of the internet to every community in this country. It was a little awkward sitting there listening to Congressman Mack say that he hated the term digital divide. But you know, I appreciated what he said. And let me tell you, I think you have to diagnose a disease before you can cure a disease. If you want to come up with the digital unite, which is the cure, you first have to identify the disease, which is the digital divide. So there's room on both sides of the equation, and it was important and powerful. And I just see our leader coming in, Mr. Clyburn. So I'm going to defer to the congressman, because I learned a long time ago there are members and there are non-members, and I am most decidedly, I have no election certificate. So let me, Mr. Clyburn, would you like to come up and, I understand you're going to be speaking, so. The congressman was talking about how important the digital divide is and how important it is that these technologies be evenly distributed. You know, I was doing a little research in preparation for tonight, and when you look at what's happening in America, if you go around America, about 55% of people in America have broadband at home. If you go to rural America, it's about 38% of rural Americans have broadband at home. If you go to the southern states of America, the old black belt, rural folks in the black belt of America have 27% penetration of broadband, meaning almost 3/4 of people living in the hardcore south of this country don't have broadband in their homes. You cannot expect folks to go to college and exceed, to have health care adequately provided, to create great jobs for their children, to live in the community they want to live in, if they don't have broadband. And that's the reason why 15 years ago, when I had the job I had, we started doing an analysis of what we call falling through the net. That was just an internet survey. We just wanted to know who in America had broadband, and had internet, forget broadband, who in America had internet and who didn't have internet. We did that in 1994 and 1995. I had to fight people, and this is the Clinton-Gore administration, and I'll tell you the truth, I had to fight people within the administration about using the term digital divide and to using those statistics. Because the fear was the internet's a great thing, it's a wonderful thing, America loves it, and you're going to bring people down. You're going to make them feel bad about it. And I'm like, what about the people who don't have it? How bad do you think they feel? That was not the issue. It's like, well, it's, you know, it's this wonderful technology. I'm like, yeah, it's wonderful, and let's explain why it's wonderful and how it's wonderful and do some things. Now, 10 years ago, doesn't seem that long ago. But let me remind you of a couple of things that most of you all probably aren't aware of 10 years ago. 10 years ago, nobody in this room had heard of Google. Google got started in 1996. It didn't really go public until 1999, 2000. 10 years ago was 1999. Almost none of us in this room were using Google, something probably everyone in this room uses several times a day, or at least thinks about using, or has something sent that was Googled. Google was not a company. The iPod, not the iPhone, the iPod did not come into the marketplace until 2001. YouTube, Facebook, MySpace, we weren't using any of that. Twitter, none of us would, none of that. All of the tools that the President of the United States used to get elected, wireless devices, handheld texting, there were 0 text messages being floated around this country. I did a speech a few weeks ago, and it was something like 14.4 million text messages in the year 2000, and now we're measuring text messages in almost the trillions globally. That's how fast this pace moves. And the unfortunate reality for most of us, within the black community, Latino community, we use these technologies as consumers. We're not using these technologies as creators. So last week I picked up my Newsweek magazine, and I'm reading my Newsweek magazine, and there's a story about the US Army and what the US Army does. Now, the US Army has given to their boys and girls, men and women in the fields of Iraq and Afghanistan, not some kind of walkie-talkie, not some high-tech military device at $1,000 a pop, not even an iPhone at $600 a pop. They gave them just a basic iTouch. Kids on the military around the country have iTouches. And what are they using the iTouch for? They're using it to read messages that are getting sent from satellites and from drones and from ground sensors. They are downloading videos so that they'll have a tribal leader, and they'll download a video to their iPod, and they'll go talk to somebody in that community and say, he wants you to talk to me, listen to what your leader is saying. They're taking pictures of street signs and they're sending it to somebody else to translate it for them. That technology that all of us are using for fun and games is being used every day by men and women in the military to save our lives, protect us, but also to make their jobs a little easier. These technologies have so much functionality. This little device right now, if I was building a door, and God knows I'm not a carpenter, but if I was trying to build a door for my house, I would use it as a planer because an iPhone application exists for this thing. If I lose my car, I have a GPS thing that tells me where my car is so even I can come back and find my car in a parking lot anywhere in America. I use it as a camera. I use it as a calculator. I use it as a calendar. One little device smaller than a deck of cards. If when I left my office in 1999, I told you I would have a device like this that would have more capacity. The computer I left the Hill with, I left the government with, had 1 gig of storage. This has 16 gigs, and in about 3 months, the next one will have 32 gigs, meaning I can put 32 times as much information as this as I could put in the government-sanctioned computer I was using as Assistant Secretary of Commerce in 1999, 10 years ago. People who use this device or Google's Android device are downloading 50 times as much information as people who use the standard cell phone. This is the pace of innovation. And what worries me is that there are 26,000 to 30,000 applications that were created by the iPhone. Last week, the 1 billionth iPhone application was downloaded. There are now 1 billion people using the Android. T-Mobile has an app store. Nokia has an app store. Verizon has a store for its Open Device Initiative. Where are the young people of color creating the applications for this? I'm glad. One of the pioneers. We met yesterday with Michael Powell, the chairman, former chairman of the FCC, who works with me and Ralph on Ralph's Media and Technology Institute. Ralph's an amazing man. He's able to get me and Bill Kennard, the first African-American chairman of the FCC, and Michael Powell, the second African-American chairman, Republican and Democrat, to work with him on the Media and Technology Institute. But the great thing about it is Michael told us how his 15-year-old son is creating iPhone applications. And I don't know if that's me or it's probably this. It's the phone. Let me put this over here. Or over here. So you've got people doing 26,000 applications. Almost none of them are coming from this community. And here's why it's so important. It's important because the solutions come from people closest to the problem. When we were trying to find, you know, if you go down the street today, you're going to see a police car somewhere in your community, and you're going to see in that police car a laptop. Seems pretty ordinary today. 15 years ago, when I was at NTI and we had grant money, somebody came to me and said, let's put up some laptop police cars and see what happened, and it came out of the Amber Alert. Some of you may remember this young girl named Amber was accosted. And there was a policeman who stopped the man who had kidnapped and killed her. The little girl was in a ditch, still alive, but the police officer in one jurisdiction didn't know that the person he stopped was wanted in the next jurisdiction over. Well, when somebody gave us this application saying, let's put a laptop in police cars, we're thinking, you know, that could have maybe saved Amber. So some people say, why would you possibly need a computer in a police car? Now, every police car in America, in a community that has the money, has that type of technology. Solutions come from people working. It was a policeman who came up with the idea, give me this, I can save lives. There are all kinds of solutions. The congressman was talking about health care. The biggest problem in the black community, but in poor communities across this country, what are our biggest problems? Obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. I got all of them in my family. I'm genetically predisposed to drop dead in about 3 seconds because everything that could be bad in black America I got running through my gene pools. We got diabetics. The reality is that every person in America, once a week, once a month, sent to their family physician their weight, their glucose level, their blood pressure that they took daily and sent that information in, and their cholesterol level, we could save thousands, if not millions of lives and billions of dollars in preventive care. So you talked about preventive health care. That's a small use of IT. All of us carry these little things, and there are applications on this iPhone to do precisely that. Verizon has applications to do precisely. We're not doing it. And we've got to start thinking about how do we change up what we're doing and how we're doing it.